Get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to Celebrate the Struggle. I am your host, Jennifer Hobbs, where I've started this podcast so that we can have those uncomfortable conversations and get comfortable with the uncomfortable, all those things that we might tiptoe around in conversation. Really, it's life and it makes us who we are. And today I have the pleasure of chatting with a fellow veteran, Ron Miller. Welcome, Ron. Thanks for being here today.
Hi, and thank you for having me. Yeah, again, my name is Ron Miller. I'm a small business owner. I work in mostly digital marketing right now, only working with a few clients, but it's a pleasure to have you on your show and be able to express my experiences in the hope of helping others.
Yeah. What kind of things do you do? It sounds tech savvy. And so you lost me a little bit, right? When people start talking about technology, I'm like,
A little bit of everything. My mother recently passed last year, and I'm in school for business right now, actually. And I've always had a love for computers, so I just took it a little bit more seriously and started learning, attending seminars, and especially during the pandemic. So my mind has been completely on website building, landing pages, funnels, and things of that nature. And Facebook ads, Google ads. So I've been like self-taught and spent a lot of money trying to do it as well.
nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So I may be following up with you on my Groove Funnels questions because all that
Okay.
those funnels have been crazy. Okay. So tell us a little bit. We see where you are now and what you're doing to help other people. Tell us where you come from and like what your journey has been to get you to where you are right now, wanting to help other people.
Okay, well, I'm from a small neighborhood on the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up in a home. My grandfather was a pastor, and he was a small business owner as well. So we kind of had things in the house. Money wasn't really an issue, I would say. The lights were paid and things like that, but we were in the neighborhood and the environment itself. It wasn't particularly very welcoming. So I grew up in like literally, basically when I was a child, that was like I guess crack epidemic had hit or whatever. So when I would step outside of my door, there was automatically, there was drug dealers, there were prostitution, there was violence, there was, so I grew up in
Right.
that kind of environment. And my family, they had issues with that as well growing up. So, I was kind of a lost child in the sense of I ended up going to my aunt's and I lived with her from the age of 8 to 18. And that kind of got me into being able to see different things outside of my own neighborhood. I actually got
Mm-hmm.
to attend some different classes. I got to go to Boy Scouts. That's what led me to join the ROTC when I got in high school. I got to be captain of the rifle team. So that got to get me to travel and I got to see different things that maybe my friends didn't get a chance to see. And but eventually I did go back to the same neighborhood. But after a while, I started hanging with my own friends and I could see myself like it's either, a couple of my other friends, they were going to jail and going to prison and getting killed. And I was
Mm-hmm.
23 and I said, well, I got all this training and I've been to ROTC. I wanted to do something with my life. I wanted to do something with my life and make my life mean something because I've seen what could happen, when you just, throw your life away or basically you make one wrong decision and that could be it. Like, to be honest with you, this morning, I actually had a childhood friend of mine who passed from a shooting just
Mm-hmm.
this morning. So that's how bad it is
I'm
kind of.
sorry to hear that.
So, yeah. So, and from there, I joined the military. I enjoyed it. I got married pretty young. I was in the reserves. I did a year of active duty in Europe where I got to travel to like at least 10 countries, which again, that opened my horizons. The farthest I got to go was Israel, was the imminent danger zone doing one of their Iron Dome missions. I got to be there for that. So that was pretty cool. And otherwise, it was just a lot of traveling. But and I think that really helped me a lot. And then even in my marriage, I had issues with drinking and things like that. And a lot of the things that I had been around and the things I tried to escape seemed like they were following me anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of, so, and it was to the point where it wasn't the environment, it was now affecting me. And it affected my marriage to the point where it was literally one day I wanted to keep the kids home. I was drinking the night before. Wife then says no argument. The police were involved, and within a week, I lost everything. She left me. She just gave the apartment people back the keys to the apartment, and I had nothing at that time, and I was living in another state, and so I came back to Georgia. where I'm at right now. Been here for the last 3 years. I was able to get in the grant per diem program for veterans that helped with my alcoholism and substance abuse. Well, alcoholism was my thing, but that's what they covered. And it was an inpatient program, and it was very hard. And I had to give up my phone. I couldn't talk to my kids. I couldn't do anything like that. I didn't have anything, so I started from ground zero. And since then, I've been going nonstop. Like even when I was married, I was in Orlando, so I was a cook, and I always felt like I could do more than this. Nothing against cooks, but I always saw myself as doing more, being more. And so since I came up here, I made a decision myself. You're not going to be working in anybody's kitchen no more. You have an education. You're smart. I know you can do this thing. People have been telling you your whole life. It's time for you to apply it for yourself and for your own benefit. So that's what I've been doing these last few years. I haven't touched the kitchen. I've had a few office jobs, working from home. My mother passed, and I kind of stopped working at that point and started working on my own thing while attending school. So that's where I'm at now. And anytime I can help people, I try to. I volunteer at my local church still that I've been going to since I was a child. I'm not perfect, but I try to do things to help people because I appreciate the people that's helped me in my life. So
I love so much of what
I know I
you.
said a lot.
No, I love it. I love it. Like, and I have loved having conversations with people, and they come so real, like you are right now. I appreciate you being honest and like it. I'm I'm sure there was a period of time, and even now, like it's a little embarrassing for us to own like our at times maybe embarrassing to own like what we've done and in the past, like things are the things that we've struggled through, but like really it's those hard times that make us who we are. If you learn from it, if you get something from it, and it seems like you have, it's so good that you got to the point where you knew like you wanted to do better for yourself, and not everyone gets there, and so it's awesome to hear your story and how much like self-talk and like just owning it, right? There's so many people that just like don't own it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. We definitely aren't perfect. That's just not, I mean, that doesn't exist in society. And if it like that would be, I wouldn't even want to meet someone that people assume is perfect, because that would be kind of sketchy. Like that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And we can all relate to like struggle. Like we're human, and so to hear your story is awesome. Like so back to like your auntie, moving in with your auntie, did she have other kids too?
Yeah, she did, but they were grown at the time. So it's kind of weird. I come from a big family, but I was raised kind of since I stayed with her, I was raised as the only child.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said,
Was
it
it
was
far
so for my no, it was
from where your
relatively
parents
close, and
were?
that was yeah, and that was the thing. But the thing about that was it was both good and bad because there was a point as I would get older, like at first I would love to go, I wanted to go back to my mom's house. I had access to do that. So I could be around her. But the way she was at the time, battling her own thing she had going on with mental illness and addiction, it became traumatic for me to go see her that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it became a point where I love my mom, but I couldn't. I kind of as a teenager, I kind of start staying away, and I didn't. So I kind of put myself in a bubble in a sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
5 days a week when I was at my auntie, I was at home. I didn't hang with friends or nothing. Maybe on the weekend sometime. I stayed by myself a lot growing up, just kind of dealing with that. And I would go with my cousins sometimes. And to this day, I have a don't have many friends outside of my family because because of that right there. And I've tried to stay close to my cousins, but it's weird because, like I said, a lot of people grow up and they would think, and I'm learning that, and I hope I'm not talking too much, but
No,
they would think that
talk away.
it's a money issue or a financial issue. But as I've been looking back through my particular family's incident, it wasn't that. Like the lights were always on. It was more. It was verbal abuse. It was mental health. It was drugs. It was untreated things that
Mm-hmm.
eventually the things that people overlook that really
Absolutely.
became a problem for my family. And now looking back, I can see where it actually eventually got to me and it affected my life. So I'm trying to change that as well for my children going forward.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, good for you is what I'm trying to say. Like, good for you, and for anybody else listening that's got to the point where like you're not going to let your past define your future, and like you've gotten to a place where you can give the things that have happened to you, it's space, but be able to identify like where you go from here. Um, I was going to say, oh, at one point you were talking about how things got rough and like you went and did an inpatient thing. I want to talk more about that because there's, obviously there's so many stigmas on mental health and different perspectives and viewpoints. And so like if for some people even thinking about inpatient, it might send up red flags like stigmas, like feelings that they've already had preconceived in their mind. And one of the things I want to do with this show is to enlighten people so that we can let down those stigmas and just have more understanding and empathy and apathy. Maybe someone's out there that like would very much benefit from going to an intensive treatment, but those different stigmas in society or those self lies you tell yourself are keeping them away from it. So my question, after that huge long rambling there, my question for you is, what was it? Did you have a support system that was helping you to identify that? Or what was it when you got to the point and identified and realized like, hey, I need to do this. I'm going to do this. Did you make that on your own? What got you to that point? Or was there something?
Um, I think it was kind of on my own in a sense, but the thing was like, especially for me after losing my family and my kids, they were like my everything, you know.
Mm,
So, and not even just the material. I didn't even to this day. I never cared about the material stuff. It was that feeling of losing everything. And I came home and I had friends, per se, but I told you my neighborhood wasn't necessarily the best, but I did have some support. My aunt, she was still around. Like I said, my friends who were there for me since I was small, they was there. Like I had a friend who let me stay with him. Like hey, I need somewhere to stay. I knocked on the door and he opened the door. And I tried to make it on my own up here and things like that. And just being in that environment and for me, it wasn't working for me. And I noticed myself now I think I was maybe 31 at the time, but I didn't start noticing I was doing stuff from when I was maybe 21, 19, things that
mm,
I thought I had grown out of. Like even the drinking and the partying and stuff, it was getting worse. And I know it was because I was going through something, but I knew I even when I had my family and I would drink, I didn't drink that much. I wasn't doing that much. And the
mm,
decisions I was making, and there would be mornings I would go to work and I was still, eventually I was able to get a job, but I would go to work and I would look myself in the mirror and say, like, dude, you can't keep going like this. Like you don't have any, you don't have anything. You came from having an apartment, you came from having this, you had your family, you don't even have a place to sleep, but you got time to go party. And then you're trying to have a job, but you're not doing anything with the money, but going to party and hang out with your friends. And regardless of what you're going through at the end of the night, they go home and you got to figure out where do you want to stay if somebody's going to let you in the door. Because they're my friend. They had things they had to do sometime. They had a family. My aunt, she has rules. She had things she had to do. And come from someone who had thought he had established himself as a man, family man, having his own, going back in that position, it really put me into a point where I felt like I had to make a decision to whether am I going to end up like these people that I've been not trying to be like my whole life? Is this going to be the moment that finally breaks me and say, you know what, this is it for me. This is enough. And, it's not even anything against those people or anything, because I grew up around a lot of great people and who got their own situations. But like I said, I've always wanted more for myself. So I just had to make a decision. And the first time I went to the VA, I got the information. I told them my thing and I was scared. I'm not gonna lie, I was
mm-hmm,
scared. So I told myself, look, I'm gonna give myself like a couple months and see can I make it in the world, just keep. And it was like one thing after another and this, and I just looked myself again and I said, no, I can't do it.
mm-hmm,
And I said, this person can't help me. That person can't help me. At this point, I had been in Orlando for 6 years. So even my family, only time I had come home was for like funerals.
right,
So, so I didn't have that, and I had to realize some of my friends wasn't here no more. Some of my friends weren't my friends anymore. So and
mm-hmm,
some of those people, when I was living a better life out in Orlando, some of those people who I thought were happy for me, they weren't even happy for me. So they were happy to see me the way I was.
right,
So I realized I needed to I need to go somewhere. And for me, and I know a lot of people talk about the Army and they even talk about the VA, but for me, it's always been great. Like I can say, I can't complain, even with appointments and stuff, because I don't worry about that because I know I can walk in and I know
yes,
somebody will help me. And for somebody who doesn't necessarily feel like they have that support, knowing that it really honestly saved my life. Like not had that's a pillar of my the military for me is like a pillar of support. That takes the place of me not having my mom who's now passed, but not having her in my life, not having a dad either. So that's my go-to. Because my aunt, she has kids. My cousins now, they have families. I
Mm-hmm.
have a brother, but he has kids. I have a sister, but she has kids. And I haven't seen some of these people in years. So it's uncomfortable for me to even ask them. But I always felt at home in the military, and I always felt like the military itself was a mixing pot of people from different places, different, and I knew I could be comfortable there. So I said, regardless of what it is, I can be comfortable there. I know this. I know what they got for me. I don't know what the streets
Mm-hmm.
got for me, but I know what they got for me.
Yeah.
So I'd rather go, and that it went back to that decision I told you I had to make when I was younger. I said, it's for me, the decision to lean towards the military and the VA and the support, for me, it becomes almost a life and death decision because of just the environment I've been in. So I'm glad, like every time I even tell my friends to this day, I'm like, one of the best decisions I ever made. And just being able to do the things I'm doing now, like being like I'm working on that degree. I'm getting there. Like I didn't know how. Like even when I was married and I was younger, I wasn't aware of those benefits. And that's another thing you spoke on. I wasn't aware of those benefits until I went into an inpatient program and I got to sit one on one with
Right.
people who had that experience. Because I was asking people when I was younger and they would point me to a website, but to be around
Mm-hmm.
people and counselors who have 20, 30 years of experience helping people. Like I don't have feeling in my fingertips. I now get disability for that. I didn't even know that was possible. I worked in a restaurant. I would joke and say, look, I don't have feeling, in my
Uh-huh.
fingertips. And I realized that I didn't understand that was nerve damage, and that was causing, and it was causing problems for me, but I didn't understand that until I got around other people that were able to say, hey, you don't have to have this. Hey, this could stop you from doing it. It has stopped me because there are certain jobs that I didn't do, certain things that I wouldn't take because I knew that. But just being in that environment of getting that support and not thinking about my family, not thinking about what others thought, thinking about
Yes.
what that having that military, because that veteran experience, something about being when I, because like even when I joined the military, I love that camaraderie. Like I
Me
love
too.
that part because I went to, yeah, like I went even some, for some of my friends, like I kind of go back and forth, but like even the high school I went to, it was more mixed. It wasn't all black or all that. It was mixed like that. So when I went to the military, I felt that same connection. Like, so it didn't matter to me. None of that stuff. I was able to let that stuff go and just, hey, I'm in this group. I got all these people from all over the world. We're learning from each other and we're having fun and it's about life. And that was something. And then to come home and to see myself back in the same situation that I was trying to get from all those years ago, regardless of if I had lost everything, regardless of if I lost, it didn't matter. I didn't want that for myself. And I know I'm
Mm-hmm.
rambling it now a little bit too, but I'll let you have it. And but yeah, so it's
No,
been
I
like a
love
crazy
I love it.
journey.
You're sharing really great stuff and something that you're touching on that none of my guests have touched on yet, is how you got, you were around professionals that were aware of the different resources out there. Like that alone is it's so good for people to know this. Like, inpatient treatment, it doesn't look like what some people might think that looks like. Like, first of all, it's those things right there, that training and understanding of resources or how to even go about something could be one of the triggers that it comes in our lives and can be the thing that just is like, I'm losing it. Like this isn't, and it's because the lack of knowledge or resources. So it's interesting that I like that you mentioned, and I hope I made sense. I just rambled on a lot right there. But what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say is, inpatient treatment, for those listening that might think that it looks like probes hooked up to your head and like electric shock therapy, that it's so not like that. And that you, first of all, you get removed. The one of the things that I feel like is the first step in like focusing on yourself is that you're removed from your environment where everyone needs, demands, and expects things from you, whether it's family, job, your house. And so like to be able to have that seclusion or isolation to be able to focus on you, but then boom, you're surrounded by people that are veterans also and people that are experiencing the same things. And then to be able to identify like the resources. And again, like that could have been a trigger, like if you're in someone's life at the time, like, I want to go to school, but I don't even know how to do it. I heard about these resources, but what do I do? Oh, I'm over this. I don't want to deal with this. And then you at a place like somewhere supportive, like inpatient, or these different retreats out there, like doing preventative things and like giving people the tools and resources ahead of time, and not trying to like drop all that on you, you know, day one that you return from a combat zone, or whatever that looks like for other people. There's so much out there, or even just that connection with veterans. Like, so do you have any veteran groups that you continue to tap into, friends or groups that you continue to communicate
Um,
with and tap into?
yes, I actually keep in touch with a lot of people from back then, but most recently I did join the Veterpreneurs Tribe
Hmm.
on Facebook. Great group, great
I
group. I've just
know.
seen
I dig
just
it.
being there, just seeing what people are doing motivates me, because I was one of those people who that group was created for, who was out there doing it by himself, thinking he's doing everything, and just posting a question or just reading a comment in there could just point me in the right direction. There's so much knowledge there, and
I
so I
agree.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. And another big thing I've been working with, I've had some experience with the DVA, but the Wounded Warrior Project.
Me too.
I've reached out to them. Yeah, and they are really awesome. Sent me a great cup out of the blue. I love that. But they are really awesome, and I've spoken with them, and I look forward to trying to do some classes with them with my fiance, actually, some relationship classes with her actually through there. And I'm trying to get more involved because they got a lot of things that are online right now. Like I missed out on a Tai Chi class. I tried to get in, but I think I missed it. So I'm actually finding myself now trying, because I felt, because when my mom passed, it was like, the world closed in on me. I closed in on myself, and I'm pretty sure people who, but the one thing too, and I know a lot of people are even looking at me like, oh, he's gonna relapse now because his mom passed. And my mom was a drinker.
Hmm.
So that didn't happen.
Right.
That was not gonna happen. And you know, and so even dealing with certain people during that, my grief, I had to say, well, you're expecting the worst from me. I thought we were friends and you're expecting the worst out of me. So no, I want to be around people that I can be honest with, that I can
Hmm.
talk to, that I can be supportive with, because I did have that experience when I was in the inpatient. I could talk to somebody and they could tell me their life story and it could be 10 times more horrible than it. But guess what? At the end of the day, we realized that our journeys had brought us to the same place. So it didn't really matter and we all needed help. And that was
Yes.
the main focus. It wasn't about the particulars that brought us there. It was the fact that we were there for that particular moment and we were there to help each other. So that's one of the things that I try to do, and I try to carry that with me because it was so powerful for me. Like the way I'm talking to you now, couldn't have done it if I had
Hmm.
not been to there. Because I was not only in that inpatient program where we did several AA meetings and things of that, we had classes. I also did an outpatient counseling at the VA on top of that to deal with the things I didn't want to say
Hmm.
in a public setting. And that eventually allowed me to open up to be able to express myself today without feeling embarrassed or ashamed, or even some things with my mom, I have to be able to talk about it to get it out for myself, because that's some things that I held in and it did affect my life. So not talking, I know now, not talking about that stuff, it could be detrimental to me.
Absolutely.
So I have to be open in order to get the help I need, reaching out for help. I guess
Hmm.
you have to be open in order to receive, I guess.
I was trying to look for what I was trying to look for as you were talking about like going to your family and like people, or people be like expecting you to crumble, expecting you like the death of your mom to fall, was reminding me of, I'm gonna stop looking for it, was reminding me of like as I was learning about all the different stigmas that are out there. One of them is like, I don't know what the title is, but it's like basically like comfort stigma. It's when you like go to a safe place, like your family, you know, and then like because of this, you know, being a veteran or the things you've gone through, whatever it is that they put, you know, expected, like, oh, he's about to lose it now. Like that's, those are just the different kinds of stigmas that we're faced with, like, oh, like, no, like I'm actually good, I'm not a liability over here, folks, like, and that mental health is okay, even if you're not okay, it's okay, like, let's change the minds, let's change the mindset and like listen more rather than putting those words out there like, oh, are you about to lose it? I'm, just that can almost push some people into it, into like, well, they're expecting me not to do well. So am I not supposed to be doing well? There was something else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm glad that you're in touch with yourself. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Back to finish my sentence before I ramble on. I'm glad that you're like at your process and your growth and your journey to be able to like hear that and be like, no, like for them to be like, oh, he's lost his mom, like he's going to lose it. And for you to be able to look at them like, no, like I'm good. Like this is where my life has got me to now, and not like, knowing where your support is. But you were talking about the Wounded Warrior Project. I can relate, Ron, because in the last like year or two since COVID, like I tapped into Wounded Warrior Project, and I've done different virtual events online. I've done one in person, but I've done different virtual events online. So, and I know at a certain points in history, like things that have happened, they got a bad rep. But for those of you listening or watching this, like Ron and I aren't the only ones that have had good experiences lately. Like they have different things available for you to do right from your house. Like Ron totally missed the Tai Chi. Clearly, he needs to make sure he gets on that next one. And then I've done like a book study, and like they pay for the books and send you the book and you read it in advance, and then you get on there and you talk to the veterans. I've done a painting one where they send you the
Nice.
art supplies, the canvases, like all of it, and then you get online and you paint together. I've done quite a few different ones, and then education ones like learning about mindfulness and like Project Overwatch, like suicide prevention. So people should really check into that. It doesn't cost anything as long as you are, I believe, a service connected veteran. Um, and it may even be people outside of it, but there's a lot of events where you can bring your spouse or a family member, even virtually. And so on that note, Ron, I was going to tell you, I heard Project Odyssey is an amazing thing that you could do with your spouse. So you should check that out. There's individual ones and there's also partner ones. So it's clear to me that like again, like I said, you've come a long way in your life and in your journey, but like you've gotten to that point to be super brave, to look in the mirror and be like, you can't do this anymore, which is super courageous. Like that's really hard for us to look in the mirror and own it, right? Own our shit.
Yeah.
And so clearly like you're doing that, and we all continue. That's not something that's never going to stop. Like we're not perfect, so we're going to have to own our stuff more often than that one time looking in the mirror. So with that being
Yeah.
said, what kinds of things like do you try to stay consistent with as far as like self care for your physical, mental, or spiritual? I like to ask my guests this every time because I think that self care is overlooked too often, and we get wrapped up in our lives and like not taking time for yourself, whether that's exercise, a bath, just sitting on the porch with coffee and no phone and nature. What kinds of things do you know you value, like you benefit from, that you try to stay consistent with?
A few of the things that you named, go into a little bit more detail, like pretty much like, so I'm a Christian, so every morning I try to read my Bible. That's something that's very important to me. So I try to be consistent with that. And it's like anything else, the more you do it, the more, and I feel like, so when I have a bad day, even later on in the day, I'll go back and I'll reference what I read in the morning, and that'll kind of keep me going through the day. And I've also, like you said, exercise, and mostly I don't have any exercise equipment, but I do have small weights. I do have, I can go jogging around my complex. I do have a jump rope. So I do a lot of free weight kind of self weight exercise and kind of things like that. I had gained some weight during the pandemic too. Now people are saying, you look like you lost weight. Cause I said, and I'm one of those people, I guess, that like to do different things. So now I have a lot of different things to do depending on my mood. I like to write. I like to draw.
Yes.
I like to do it all. I'm one of those type of people, but I know depending on my mood is what I'll do. Like if I find
Yes,
myself getting angry and I got a lot of energy, okay, drawing might not work. Let's go work out. Let's, let's do that.
absolutely.
Or even listen, or even there are certain times I just listen to music, certain songs because I love music. So
I do too.
um yeah, so there are certain songs that bring certain emotions I learned. So
Mhm.
just like there are certain songs that can make me sad, there are certain songs I know that'll cheer me up. So it's
Yes.
just like you said, I've also done a little bit of meditation, trying to that mindfulness. I take it a lot more seriously now because even when I was in the inpatient, that was something I didn't necessarily take as serious, I believe, in the
Hmm.
meditation and things like that. But when my mom passed and I found myself in that spot and I said, well, they say this worked. So,
Hmm.
and now like even my fiance, she'll go upstairs and come downstairs and I may have some on my mind and she'll come and I'm just sitting and she's like, wait, and she knows now like I'm meditating. Something crossed my mind and I just need to clear it. And when I get like that, and so it's just different things for me because like I
Yes.
said, I'm a person that likes to do a lot of different stuff. So I guess it makes sense to have multiple things in my toolbox to use.
Yes, we definitely
But
need them. Life tends to take from us, and we need to have our tools in our toolbox so that we can give back to ourselves and not just let our
yes,
life take. Well, I'm so happy that you joined us on here today. And again, like I had some firsts today. Like I hope people thank you for sharing your story. And again, like I told you, I don't know if I told you before the call, what I really want for people to get from this is, hope. Some people get hope of like, okay, like that's where I'm at right now. And clearly he looks himself in the mirror every day and I can do that. I can do that too. And I would also like to like shed understanding and enlightenment. So to go to that space like that and own that space of like, hey, like I know not for everyone the VA has been spectacular, but for me it saved my life. I that takes a lot to get to that point. That takes a lot to say, and I'm glad you shared that with us today. So thanks again for getting comfortable with the uncomfortable and joining us today.
yes, no problem. And thank you for having me.